American Fright Fest was something. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the horror show, and welcome back to Fest Fest! That's right, we are here at part 3 of Fest Fest, where I am going to be discussing the third Fest movie that is apparently available now. I don't know exactly when this one came out, but I know Hellfest and Bloodfest came out roughly around the same time, so I decided to do American Fright Fest, which was this year as well. This one is a straight to VOD movie, which I got to watch on Prime for free. Hopefully when you watch this review, you can do the same thing, because it is worth it at free. I will say that right now. The movie is worth watching at the low, low price of free. Is it a good movie, though? That is the question. And in my estimation, sticking to our overall review format, which is overall thoughts, story, acting, effects, cinematography, what have you in turn, I'm going to say that this movie is worth free, but if you are a person that is low on time and has to be selective about what movies you watch, you can pass on American Fright Fest. Overall, though, I will say that I'm glad I watched it, but I will not be watching it again. I will say that much. As far as the Fest movies go, this is definitely third, but the funny thing about it is that the premise is actually closer to Hellfest than it is to Bloodfest. Out of the three, believe it or not, Bloodfest is the most unique story-wise, interestingly enough. They all do take place at, fright haunt places, so that there is that similarity, and I'm going to be doing a full-out comparison video after this review, but I'm going to knock this review out. So sticking with it, I will say that there are aspects of this movie that were entertaining enough to make me glad to have watched it. Also, there are aspects to this movie that make me glad to have not paid to watch it. So, I guess tangentially I am, because I'm paying for Prime, so if you divide out my Prime membership by all the movies I watch, that's how much I paid for it. So I guess maybe $1.50 or something like that. That's fine. I'm happy to pay Redbox prices for this movie. I think that at least it's worth $1.50. It's worth $2 of your hard-earned cashish to go and watch this movie if you have to. But if you do have Amazon Prime, it is free on there. Definitely get your money's worth and watch it if you have an hour and a half of free time. So here's the deal. The story for this one goes as such. We begin in a, B horror movie setup, which is, fun. They get into the gore right away. There's a little bit of gore in this one. Actually, as the movie progresses, there's more and more gore, which is nice, actually, as a gore fan in the horror genre. So it starts off, though, on this B-horror movie. The movie, by the way, is directed by Ante Novakovic, and it is written by Robert Gillings, and it stars Dylan Walsh, Madison McKinley, and Pancho Moller. Just want to make sure I get the names right. Dylan Walsh, just so you guys know, if you ever watched Nip Tuck, he played Sean McNamara, part of the Nip Tuck crew. It was him and the guy that played Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four movies. So this is the, I guess, not as good-looking partner of Nip Tuck, but he is still a good actor. Here's the problem. Well, I'll get to the acting in turn, but the overall story is that he plays a really kind of dickish B-horror movie director, and he's on the set of his film, and that's how we get introduced to him. And then we actually get to a side plot that becomes the main plot where, forgive me, let me rewind a little bit. The movie actually starts with a young guy at his house, and he is basically found in the house with his parents or family killed. And he is the prime suspect. He goes to jail, and he's convicted. And so this all happens very rapidly in the film. And we basically get to him getting on a transport bus, or a van, really, transporting some of these prisoners. And we don't even know why. It's unceremonious. This is just the plot of the movie. So the prisoners are being transferred, and meanwhile, this director is tapped by this, I guess, senator, someone in the government, and his assistant, his like number one guy, hatch a plan to get reelected by throwing a really popular haunted house during Halloween. Like that's the plot of the movie. The government person, I'm guessing senator, is trying to get reelected based on having a really awesome haunted attraction. Great storyline. So that's how it goes. And the prisoners are being transferred the night that he's having this event at a rundown asylum that they have now converted into a horror haunt. And, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we're just left to assume, like how it all gets set up, how they hire people, how many people are working there. We have no idea. There is absolutely no continuity for any of that. All we do is we go back to the prisoners as they're being transferred in the van. The director actually is, again, played by Dylan Walsh, Sean McNamara from Nip Tuck. He's entertaining, but he's a complete douche in the movie. He's an asshole director. He drinks, he does drugs, he drives on such materials, and it even gets worse as the film goes on, which is actually kind of entertaining. So, but the film starts where he is driving home after formulating this plan for this big event, and he actually accidentally runs the prisoner transport off the road. There is a tiny crash that they play up as being huge, and most of the prisoners die, but two do not. One is the guy from the beginning, of course, and then another is a really crazy prisoner that was like looking like he was picking a fight with the guy from the beginning. So there's that dynamic that's established, and then they both escape, and they both go directly to the lights, which is this haunted attraction that's been set up by the senator. So they get there, and the public is being let in. The actors are already set up. Like, everything happens in super speed in this movie. But the really crazy prisoner, not the guy from the beginning, but a really nutsoid-looking guy that was done up like Hannibal Lecter on the bus, he arrives, and he's in his prisoner outfit, and he's bloodied up, and so they think he's a part of the thing. So they're like, you got to use the employee entrance. So they escort him around and they let him into the event. So once he's in the event, he basically sees what's going on. There's this haunted attraction, and he is essentially in a playground. So he goes to the dressing room, puts on a costume, and he starts wreaking legitimate havoc. This is where the comparison to Hellfest could come in, because Hellfest is about a slasher that is turned loose in a Halloween Horror Nights-esque environment. This is a literal prisoner murderer that puts on a costume in a haunt and starts killing people. Similar, right? Here's the thing. It executes a few things just a little bit better. Most things not as good as either Bloodfest or Hellfest, but a couple things, they go hardcore with the gore. I mean, it is really fun, and it is essentially this crazy prisoner really enjoying himself going through a haunted house and killing both the actors as well as the patrons. Like, he starts wreaking havoc because he locks the building down and electrifies the doors so no one can get in or out, and it's just this serial killer's playground, while this other prisoner is also inside trying to stop him. And then there are some other characters along the way that we meet that are associates of the directors, who are locked out in the melee, as it were, for the duration of the film. The director is, for the most part, locked up in his control room recording everything, and he is just being he's a douche through the whole movie. There's actually only one scene in which I can point to where Dylan Walsh really got to spread his acting wings and show his chops. And it's just very, very ever so slightly, but it was really interesting when he did it. But yeah, that's the plot of the movie. So there's a killer on the loose, a director who has all the phones and won't call the police because he wants to record everything because he's a failing director. And then there's the prisoner inside trying to kill everyone, and the prisoner inside trying to stop the prisoner trying to kill everyone. sounds a bit convoluted, but it actually plays out pretty straightforward. So straightforward that it feels almost a bit choppy at times. But while I will say the cinematography and the production design is both vastly superior in Hellfest and Bloodfest. The gore in this one, though, was up there. Bloodfest's gore beats it all, but this one was definitely way gorier than Hellfest. So if you're a gore fan, this has a lot of good low-budget gore and really cool wounds and things like that. They really play that up, and they do a good job with that. I do want to mention that as a positive. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negative to this one. I mean, it's not terrible. It's just kind of mediocre, and with both Bloodfest and Hellfest out there, American Fright Fest is just going to kind of pale in comparison, which is why, free 99 is a good price to watch this movie at. So if you're not a member of Prime, get Prime. You can watch it for free, or just rent the movie for $5 or whatever it is on VOD. But yeah, so that's the long and short of the story. The effects, again, I will say, the gore effects are really good. They're all practical. There's not a lot of CGI to be had. They didn't have the money to do a lot of CGI in this, so there's a lot of practical gore. The acting I kind of skipped over because the acting is a bit wishy-washy, a bit subpar. I did like Dylan Walsh's assistant through most of the movie, which was a little person who was played by, I think that's Pancho Moller, honestly. He plays Finkel, who is the assistant to the director, and he was actually really enjoyable to watch. Honestly, he's like maybe not Dinklage level, but he is up there with the acting, and which is an unintended joke. But anyway, he is one of the better actors in the film, and enjoyable to watch for basically every frame he's in. He's kind of the straight man to the director's complete chaotic drug addict self, but there needs to be that character, and he did a very good job. So some of the acting is much better than others. Even the prisoners are both sort of over the top. The good prisoner is kind of an Anton Yelchin-like kind of person, so not really super standout, but yeah, I mean, overall the acting was kind of a little, I guess if I had to say, it would be a bit subpar, but some people tried to elevate, but the material didn't allow them to elevate that much. Dylan Walsh being one of them, the director. He was great in Nip Tuck. He definitely could have, he had flashes of greatness in this, but the material just bogged him down, unfortunately. Outside of that, the music and the sound design, nothing to really write home about there. It definitely standouts in the other two, but not so much in this one. This is just very standard fare. I didn't even notice any particular songs. I didn't notice any particular music ambiance like I did in the other ones. I know it was there. Every movie has to have it, but it didn't really stand out to me. And the sound design didn't really stand out to me either. So that's a bit of a bummer. But yeah, I think that's going to pretty much cover American Fright Fest. Again, free 99 is the optimum price for this one if you can help it. If you're a gore fan, it's worth watching for gore. Here, let me say this. If you like gore and you like the idea of a killer on the loose in a haunted attraction, this is the movie to watch. Hellfest is very similar to that, but they pull their punches in Hellfest, I feel like. The higher budget had them pull the punches a little bit. So I think that bell means I need to cut this review off. That's fine. I think I've covered as much as I want to say about American Fright Fest. Let us know in the comments down below. Have you seen it yet? Are you going to watch it based on this review, or are you going to finish out Fest yourself and just round it out, watch the third movie? Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. Thank you very much for watching. Click the link in the description box for our Patreon. I will be back for part 4 of Fest, where I do a comparison of all 3 movies. But thank you guys very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird, and remember, stay scared.